There are a lot of rules that govern Congress and the congressional process, but I'm here to tell you. Rule number 1, when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is on fire, get out the way. You do not want to be the cause of this woman's ire when she gets angry. Yesterday, she went after Nancy Mace, and with good reason. Mace is trying to make a name for herself by being a transphobic bigot, and nothing gets AOC madder than bigots picking on people. Whether it's a marginalized group or a vulnerable individual, AOC will always be a staunch defender against bullies. I'm going to show this video in full of AOC ripping Nancy Mace to shreds. But first, a little sympathy for Nancy Mace, if you will, because what we're talking about here is a low IQ political opportunist going up against an incredibly smart and very articulate social justice warrior in AOC. Nancy Mace got stomped, and she deserved it. So let's take a look at why. In addition to being low IQ, Nancy Mace has been a pretty low-profile congressperson from South Carolina. So in 2021, she figured that one way she could raise her profile was by imitating AOC and drawing on her own background overcoming barriers to co-sponsor the Fairness for All Act, a bill seeking to protect LGBTQ plus Americans from discrimination while balancing religious liberty. At the time, Mace tweeted this: "I do believe religious liberty, the First Amendment, gay rights, and transgender equality can all coexist." Fast forward to today, and now Nancy Mace is pushing for a resolution that will ban transgender women from using women's bathrooms in the Capitol. And why is she pushing this 180-degree political turnaround now? First, because Mace got attacked in her primary for co-sponsoring the Fairness to All Act, and the attack ads were effective. Second, because Trump's campaign and others found a lot of success attacking trans people. And third, because the opportunity to raise her visibility came right to her congressional doorstep. Sarah McBride, a trans woman, was elected to Congress from Delaware. So Mace went on the attack and pushed for McBride to be banned from women's bathrooms. And even though Trump's Little Johnson did not immediately support it, the sanctimonious little simp eventually got on board. But again, why now when the next Congress won't be seated until January? Because the Transgender Day of Remembrance on November 20th. That's why. Joe Biden marked the day by saying this: "Today, on the Transgender Day of Remembrance, we mourn the transgender Americans whose lives were taken this year in horrific acts of violence. There should be no place for hate in America, and yet too many transgender Americans, including young people, are cruelly targeted and face harassment simply for being themselves. It's wrong." Now, you know that last part was directed at Nancy Mace. AOC, on the other hand, did not make such subtle references. She went after Mace hard. Let's take a look.
What Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls. Because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? In order, because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans, is disgusting. It is disgusting. And frankly, all it does is allow these Republicans to go around and bully any woman who isn't wearing a skirt because they think she might not look woman enough. People have a right to express themselves, to dress how they want, and to be who they are. And if a woman doesn't look woman enough to a Republican, they want to be able to inspect her genitals to use a bathroom. It's disgusting. And everybody, no matter how you feel on this issue, should reject it completely. What are they doing? They're doing this so that Nancy Mace can make a buck and send a text and fundraise off an email. They're not doing this to protect people. They're endangering women. They're endangering girls of all kinds. And everybody should reject it. It's gross. Thank you.
Thank you.
AOC's attack on the bigotry of Mace and Trump's little Johnson is brilliant for two reasons. First, it gets into the details of a policy, something Republicans are never able to do. Republicans never want to get into the details of governing. They just want to exercise power. But AOC gets into the details, asking who exactly is going to inspect women and girls going into bathrooms, and why does anyone think that's acceptable? How is it not going to be absolutely humiliating, if not traumatizing, to have one's genitals inspected in order to gain access to a bathroom? But the other reason AOC's statement is so brilliant is because it's not directed at Mace, but at the bigoted people who support what Mace is doing. AOC is breaking it down for them. She's guiding them to try and do something they are unfamiliar with, thinking through the implications of an action or a policy. In this case, she's asking them to actually think about whether this is something they want. A genital inspection of their sisters, of their daughters, of their mothers in front of bathrooms. Another reason it's so brilliant is because she draws another very clear picture for these people. Nancy Mace is not doing this because she shares your bigoted values. She's doing this to fundraise off of you and your values. But the truly brilliant thing here is AOC's closing remark. She gets down to their level. You can just see her transform back into her 13-year-old self to say, that's gross. And she's right. It is. I keep saying Democrats and progressives have got to start finding ways to reach out to these red state voters. And too many people misinterpret that to mean doing a Joe Scarborough. No one is saying to be docile. I'm just saying we need to find a number of ways to be effective. AOC just showed one way, and the last thing you're going to do is call it docile. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.